Training in Weld Quality Assurance and Quality Control. Section number 4, Discontinuities and Defects. Topic number 1, Weld Inspector Responsibilities related to discontinuities and defects. The objective of this topic is to list the specific responsibilities or duties that welding inspectors assume as related to discontinuities and defects. The scope of Section 4 includes the responsibilities of the welding inspector as they relate to the evaluation of weldments, the identification and classification of discontinuities, and the conditions that exist when evaluating discontinuities, in order to form a conclusion as to whether they are acceptable or unacceptable. The term discontinuity may have many meanings, but for the intent of this training, the term will refer to an interruption of the typical structure of a weld or a weldment. This means that the weld or weldment lacks uniformity in mechanical, metallurgical, or physical characteristics. A discontinuity is not necessarily a defect unless it is unable to meet minimum acceptance standards or specifications. Therefore, the term defect is used to designate unacceptability of a weld or a weldment. The demand for more reliable products, our increasingly complex technology, and the need to conserve resources make weld quality increasingly important. Quality in the welding field has many meanings. In general, a quality weld will successfully sustain the service it encounters. The quality of welds must be based on codes and standards that anticipate the service of the product. For some products, however, there are no applicable codes or specifications. For products such as these, the producer must maintain quality in order to compete. The success of maintaining the delicate balance between quality requirements and cost factors is decided in the field and in the marketplace, where quality and price determine the producer's continuing success. The responsibility for producing quality products rests on many people, such as the engineers, designers, welding supervisors, welders, and quality control and inspection personnel. The responsibilities of the welding inspector are many and play an important role in the assurance of quality weldments. One of the first and perhaps most important responsibilities is the ability to read and understand all written welding drawings and specifications. The proper interpretation of written requirements is essential for maintaining quality. The weld inspector should review all documented instructions, such as codes, construction details, welding procedures, material specifications, and any special procedures required for the weldment. This is done to prevent discontinuities from occurring before, during, and after final fabrication. Defects are not always detected. It is the duty of the inspector to assure that the proper evaluation of test results are accomplished. With the use of codes and standards as a guide, the inspector can determine the results. Weld code specifications establish the acceptable limits for weld discontinuities. Documented workmanship standards based on codes are a must for the weld inspector as a guide for evaluating weldments. Maintaining and preparing reports for records is another essential part of the inspector's responsibility. Code work always requires records to be kept. These are to be complete and accurate and available for review. Such reports should state the general characteristics of the job, the job's conformity to the code, and any difficulties that may have occurred. There should also be a clear descriptive statement of any defects. Another possible cause of weld defects is improper preparation of the weld joint. The inspector is responsible for examining yet-to-be welded joints to confirm their conformity to the weld joint detail included in the procedure. Proper fit-up of the joint is just as important as the edge preparation. The alignment and root opening of parts to be welded must be inspected to determine their conformance to the construction or joint detail. Proper joint fit-up will prevent shrinkage-type stress defects, such as cracks or other defects, from occurring in the final weld. A common cause for many weld failures is the use of inadequate welding procedures, the inaccurate interpretation of procedures, or not using procedures during production. The inspector must verify that the procedures are correct and are being properly implemented. Besides assuring correct use of procedures, the inspector should also maintain records of qualified welders and weld operators. A given weld can meet all standards required, but if the welder or operator is not qualified to do the work, the quality control system fails and the weld may be rejected. The inspector must also verify the correct purchasing of welding materials and consumables to assure that the specified materials are being used. To assist in making selections, filler materials are specified by the American Welding Society. A typical specification is A5.1, which gives the specifications for low-carbon steel electrodes used with shielded metal arc welding. Base materials are commonly specified by the American Society of Testing Materials. A typical specification might be A36, which is one of the most widely used carbon steels. Besides checking the purchase order, the inspector must identify and verify the materials received to prevent unacceptability of a weldment due to the use of non-specified materials. Along with verifying the chemical composition and mechanical properties of the material, the inspector must also check for imperfections and deviations that might cause problems during production of the weldment. Any variation from specifications may be cause for failure of the product. The weld inspector is also responsible for verifying correct storage of filler materials according to the specifications. Clean and dry filler metals will prevent some of the causes of porosity and cracking, as well as other discontinuities in welds. Special procedures may also be written for post-weld heat treatments, assembly, and final finishing. The inspector also verifies the condition of equipment to be used for welding and testing, and any special equipment required for other treatments. The capability, calibration, and safety of equipment should be accurately investigated to prevent possible non-conforming workmanship in weld-fabricated parts. Many weld defects can be eliminated before they occur if the inspector knows and accepts these responsibilities. The remainder of this section is divided into 4 topics. Topic 2 will define and classify the various types of weld discontinuities. Topic 3 will discuss the probable causes for dimensional discontinuities, those related to shape, size, and contour. Topic 4 will discuss the probable causes of structural discontinuities, those related to internal inconsistencies. And Topic 5, the summary topic of this section, will discuss the probable causes for discontinuities related to the properties of weld metal and base metal.